Hello friends, welcome back to game number 2 of MLG Annaheim. This is a best of 3 opening bracket match between Millennium ToD and coLCatZ. Now in game number 1, Millennium ToD went for a 7-gate timed with his ground weapon level 1, but katZ was able to hold that off with roaches and eventually win the game. And wow, interesting. It looks like katZ is sitting on 7 drones, and he has about 200 minerals in the bank. So I would not be surprised if we see some sort of early pull, and it does not take a day 9 to figure that out. And he did just go for a 7 pull, so he's definitely going to be sending some Zergling early into his opponent's base. And meanwhile, in Camp ToD, we see that he threw down a pylon on the low ground of his natural, so he is going to be going for a fast forge into an expand. Good news for the Protoss, just because if you does get that early wall in and have a cannon in the back, then it will be very hard for some sort of 6 or 7 or 10 pull to kill you. But unfortunately for him, his scouting probe went the wrong way. He went in the south position first, and now he's going to be sending his probe to the north position. Not sure if that delay in scouting timing is going to affect him at all. And we do see that, wow, katZ went for a double gas twig, so he's going to have some super early Zerglings, and that probe does see that his opponent is already has some spawning pool on the way, and he is going like, holy shit, you guys, you better have some defense in the main for these lanes, because they are going to be in our base super early. And we see that ToD is reacting just fine. He is throwing down 2 gate in the front. He already has a complete tight wall in, and they're going to be keeping that drone probe there. And as soon as he hits 150 minerals, he threw down a pylon. And very good choice here. I mean, there is no point in sending that scouting probe back just because it is a super tight wall in. So going to be keeping it there for scouting. And we see that katZ is not going all in. He is making a queen and an overlord and even a drone back in his home base, so he's not going to follow this up with a mass link all in. And Protoss player knows about this, yeah, because as I mentioned before, he did leave that first scouting probe in the tower. I mean, he does not see all of the map, but he sees enough to tell him that his opponent is not going for all-in Zerglings, because if he is, then those Zerglings would be streaming in via the center path of the map. No point for them to take any sort of long way just to avoid that Zalnaga watchtower, which is why he is moving out, or doing a very ballsy move, I would say, making that nexus before spending all that mineral on that nexus before completing this wall in, because that forge did just get sniped. So yeah, I mean, he was able to do that just because he had a probe here, because he didn't know, he does know that his opponent is not making a bunch of lanes and doing some sort of all in, so he could have afforded to delay this forge for just a bit, which allowed him to get that nexus up early, which later will allow him to get mining up early much faster. And katZ, of course, is not a douche. She is not going all in, and that, I think, is how StarCraft should be played, by not going all in. And we see that he is making 4 links in addition to his 2 that he already has, so probably just making them for vision control, early map control, making sure that your opponent is not free to get away with shenanigans like this. He did see that probe coming down from that ramp. I would assume that he is assuming that his opponent is making some sort of proxy pylon up there. But besides those 6 lanes, he is just making all drones, which is very wise decision here, because as a Zerg, especially in the early mid game, you never want to go any sort of half-ass build or middle of the road or anything like that. You either want to make all units or all drones, and that is what katZ is doing. He is currently making all drones, so a very wise decision there. And we see that the Protoss is already mining on 2 base, not very saturated, I might add. and the Zerg is doing the same as well. So continually making drones. Right now, just putting them all on mineral until now, which is when he is going to be grabbing his gas. Not sure what these two drones that are sitting here. I mean, he does already have enough minerals for those two geysers. Perhaps just a misrally, and we see the lanes poking in. Not gonna see too much. I mean, it is a perfect ball-in, so they are gonna be running out, and we see that Overlord running in here, seeing 3 gate. I'm not sure if he's gonna allow that Overlord to continually moving into the base. Nope, it's gonna turn its head back and run away. And so right now, coLCatZ assume that his opponent has 5 gates. When he in fact has 7. This, I would say, is a bit unusual. Because the number 7 just does not click. Most Protoss player does not go for a 7 gate. So definitely very interesting build coming from ToD here. And he does know that his opponent has a lot of gate regardless, which is why he is going to be throwing down his spine. Very good against any sort of early gates push, especially when he droned up so hard in the early game. I gotta say that creep spread from coLCatZ in this game is just like non-existent. I mean, we don't even see a creep highway linking the main to the natural, and looks like he was injecting like a boss there. This queen very low on energy, so I don't blame him. But I still think creep spread in general is very good, just because it allows your units to reinforce much faster, and it gives you vision, especially in the early game, because in the early game your opponent does not have this Overlord. I guess it was not on the top edge quite enough, but it looked like it was. So yeah, it was very weird. I thought it was on the top edge, but I guess it was not. So it was able to get killed by sentries. So yeah, I was saying, especially in the early game, the opponent is not likely to have a very fast robo, which means no observers, meaning that those creep tuners could give you free information. So yeah, I really would like to see some creep spread from coLCatZ, but he is just deciding. I mean, this must be one of those in-between game decisions. He's deciding that he is gonna keep his queens to inject like a boss, and gonna be using his minerals on something other than a designated creep spreader. I almost sound like a designated saying designated drunk driver there. So yeah, both queens inject. Oh, perhaps not anymore. Yeah, but early on in the game, both queens injecting very nice. So he did not have enough energy accumulated to spread those creep, but instead is going to be relying on Overlord to spread the creep. So like I said, it looks like very much a in-between game decision to do this. And we see a probe from ToD moving to his 3rd, possibly taking an expansion. He does have enough minerals. Yep, there goes down the nexus, and coLCatZ is going to be taking his 3rd almost at the same time. Yeah, they went down almost at the exact same time, and he is going to be poking in with roaches, possibly to force a cancel on this nexus. Not sure if he will have his way. Does he have burrow? Yes, he does have burrow, and the opponent, oh, observer is already out. He is not going to be able to do that burrow on burrowing shenanigan, and if this observer would just move into position, he would ToD would be able to see these burrowed roaches. Still no cancel on that nexus. The coLCatZ is deciding to pull back. I don't think he saw this robo, or yeah, he did not see this robo, and most definitely does not see this observer. So pulling back, very nice. It means that his roach is not going to get spotted by that observer. But now you can, if you train yourself to spot an observer, just because when they move, the air on the screen, it seems like it's rippling. So that means it tells you that your opponent has some sort of cloak unit there. But most player in the top, I would say, certainly in coLCatZ level of play, does not focus their attention on the main screen all the time. Instead, I would say the minimap is far more the most important part of the game. So even even if you are very good at detecting those subtle cloak units, you're not looking at the mini screen that much anyway. So not a high chance of manually detecting them by yourself. And he does have 4 infestors moving out with this roach link contingency, and looks like ToD is deciding to get blink before this engagement. Perhaps does he know that his opponent have infestors? No, he doesn't. Most likely just because he knows that his opponent does like to go for infestors. Like I said, infestors, especially in the mid game, is blink stalkers rather in the mid game is almost essential against infestors, just because if they infestors are trying to move into a better position for fungal growth that will cover a larger area, then you can block them off and kill them. And if they have a neuroparasite on one of your big units, then you can pick off the neuroparasiting infestor with your blink stalkers, and he does not have neuroparasite on your big scary unit anymore. Very nice spotting by these 2 observers, spotting the how many reinforcements are on the way, as well as his main army. Definitely giving him that spotting he needed to place down some force fields. And coLCatZ is reacting with this stalker heavy force with 20 Zerglings, but I believe he already got the +1. Yep, he already has the +1 range attack. This is one of the bad things about not having a lean army, is just because you need upgrades for every single